Hi, I'm Adrienne, and welcome to The Loud Reset, my personal podcast. The audio is a little bit different this time. I don't know what's going on. It's a learning experience. I'm just kind of rolling with it today. My equipment isn't working. It's a starter pack, so I didn't expect it to be the greatest, but here we are. I've been kind of putting off my next podcast for a while because probably not a while, honestly. Like, it hasn't been that long, but in my head, I set these goals of, I got to do this, I want to do this. And when I don't, I feel behind. And that's kind of how I was feeling this morning. And, I have the day off. I had a lot of things I had to get taken care of. So I took the day off work and I kind of said, I'm going to podcast today. And then I'm getting ready for the day. And I thought, why am I stressing? Because there's no timeline. I can do this whenever I want, whenever the mood strikes. No one's like checking for my podcast. So it's just meant to be fun, and I was kind of putting some undue pressure on myself, so I'm trying to squash that out of the way, just doing it. So today I want to just talk. It's just me today. I want to just talk about being an 80s baby and growing up in the early 90s and kind of oddly transition that into one of my greatest hobbies that I have, because they're so important to me and who I am. So I was born in 84, turned 40 last year, as you know, if you're following along. And I grew up in Ogden, Utah, which majority of it was in Ogden. I was born way out in the sticks in very small towns in Gunnison and Neola in Utah. I'm talking like way out in the sticks, like dirt road type stuff. Very, very, very faint memories of that childhood, but all fun. I can remember sneaking through the woods with all 5 of us siblings to toilet paper the neighbor's house, and very, very vague things like that. I remember having pigs that weren't very nice that we had, on the property and whatnot. So very young. I'm talking like less than 3 or 4. Some of memories that I still keep with me. But then when we moved to Ogden, Utah, I had started preschool there, and that's when I can still remember a lot of those days. I have very, very fond memories of literal preschool and activities that I had and did, and the school and the smell and all of that. The faces are all gone. There's people there in my memories, but there's no distinguishing who they are. I would never know who they are if I saw them on the street. But when I went to elementary school in Ogden, Utah, and I lived in like that quintessential 90s neighborhood where every house had kids my age and had friends, and they had siblings that were my siblings' age. And it was one of those, like, you could throw a rock and hit 5 of your friends. And we walked to the elementary school that was right down the road, and we would play in the street all day long. You'd go and you'd see the bikes in the yard, and that's where you knew where your friends were. And it was so great. And the 90s prank calling and sleepovers and sleeping on trampolines, toilet papering, sneaking out, all the things that you did, just so carefree. It was great. And I want to talk about this particular friend of mine because he's very dear to me. His name is Trent Tinas, and he was one of my very first best friends when we moved into Ogden. He lived right across the street. We lived right on the corner, and he was my age. We started in kindergarten together, and he taught me how to be a tough kid. He was a boy. He was a boy where he played out in the dirt, the worms, all the things. And he kind of helped shape me with that. And we grew up together. I'm talking, he would hold my hand when we would walk through the playground. Kids were out at recess, and we would be getting there for PM kindergarten. And he would hold my hand and keep me safe as we're going through the playground. But we would spend every waking hour together. He had then eventually had moved to North Ogden when we got a little bit older in elementary school, and we still hung out. Our parents would take us back and forth to each other's houses just to spend the days together. So, the Ninja Turtles and the creepy crawlers and all the things that us 90s kids or 90s boys did, Trent and I did together. And he was such a fond memory of mine. Tragically, he passed away a couple years ago in just a really, really awful car accident. He'd had a young family, a wife and a very small child, and it shattered me. Literally, still shatters me to this day. but I have such fond memories of him. And the other night, it was probably into the early morning, I had the most insane dream. And if you've ever talked to me much about anything, you know that I've really kind of had really intense dreams for as long as I can remember. Chronic nightmares that kind of follow me within my life. I've been having the same dream for 20 plus years. It's wild sometimes, but I had a dream about Trent the other night, and it was sad, and it hurt my heart all over again, and it just kind of like shook me around, but it was very strange. And I hadn't had a dream with this type of theme recently that I can at least remember, but in the dream, I had gone back in time, and Trent was still alive, and we were at some random place. You know, we were kind of adults. You know how dreams are. Things are familiar, but they're not. You know, they're in color. They're like movies. It's one of those. And in the dream, I was just talking to him and, you know, being around him. But even though he was alive in my dream, I had the knowledge that he was going to pass away. So in my head and my heart, in my dream, I'm grieving this, and I'm screaming on the inside that he's going to get in a car wreck, but I'm not going to tell him that in my dream because it's going to, you know, upset him or change the trajectory of his life or, you know, all those things. But it was very strange. It stirred up a lot of really sad emotions for me. And it's one of those dreams where, like, you're glad you're having it because you're seeing that person again, and they're with you and they're showing their presence. But then again, you're reliving the nightmare of him passing away and things like that. So just wanted to say that about Trent. He's super important to me and who I was as a kid. And it's very sad, but he still visits me in my dreams, and I'm happy for that. But the 90s were awesome. They really were. And I know I still keep in touch with a lot of my friends that grew up in that neighborhood. Some of them are still in the area, which is awesome. I love that. I love seeing pictures of the places I grew up. We have gone back to visit a few times because I still have some family out that way. And it's crazy to see your old neighborhood and things like that. So I really enjoyed that. One of my really close friends from out that time had recently just kind of road tripped. She still lives in Utah, and she rented a van and cross-countryed and pit stopped here and stayed at my house for a day, which was amazing because we had not seen each other in too long. I'd have to look back. So Shannon, that was awesome. I hope you're watching. But I love that I can still connect with people from that far back in my childhood. And for me and her, we picked up like nothing had changed, and how similar our lives were and how different they were it was like we just stepped back into place. So it was really cool. But then as an adult, I'm going to completely just jump around because I just wanted to talk about how cool my 90s childhood was. And I know a lot of you can relate as well. Hands down, the absolute best. But just goes to show you that I lived outside. I was on my bike 24/7, gone in the yard when the streetlights came on. So nature is very, very important to me. And as I grew up in high school, I didn't really kind of fit in anywhere. I was kind of friends with everyone. I wasn't athletic, so I didn't play sports. I attempted it, but it didn't work out too well for me. I was okay with everyone, didn't really have any enemies that I know of, just kind of there, kind of existing. But then when I started working right away, at 14, I was working, and all the way through, you know, high school and college, I've always had a job, so I've always kind of been very independent in that regard. So working really hard, really fast, really young, really gave me no thought to hobbies at all for myself. Like, it literally didn't exist. And I would try things over the years to just find a way to make my brain happy. But I always was busy with, you know, just life and how things went with that. And for a long time, it was kind of a source of pain for me and Rich, and kind of just in our relationship, because even though I had the time, I had the financial means, I had a spouse that supported me and would do everything and I needed to do to make it happen, I had no fucking clue what I enjoyed. None whatsoever. I couldn't find passion in anything. I would read things online. I would join forums. I would join, you know, groups and all the things, and never really found anything that I enjoyed doing or had a passion about doing. So it would leave me feeling stuck for a very long time. And it was kind of a huge factor that played into my depression and anxiety over the years of just feeling so lost. Like, you don't know who you are. You don't know what brings you passion. So when the pandemic hit, it rocked me to my core for many reasons. And we may go down that at some point. But being at home for that little bit of time was probably one of the best things for me because it kind of flipped my world upside down. But what I started noticing were birds. And I am such a bird nerd. I have become such a bird nerd because I do feel like birding has saved a big portion of my life. I have just fallen so deeply and engrossed and in love with birding and all things birding and learning all things birding. And it's such a healthy habit. I don't have to go anywhere to do it, but I can go places, which has been amazing. And when I started to just do backyard birding, putting bird feeders out and getting excited, it really kind of gave me such a piece of happiness and kind of calm in the chaos, which is always kind of my mind. But it really gave me something to look forward to. And it let me start to meet some really incredible people. And I do want to talk about how I got into my birding group because it's kind of a fun story. But what made me feel happy is that no matter where I am or how I'm feeling, I can always look around and eventually I'll find some birds that they're going to be there. So it's that feeling of never being truly alone for me is nice because, they didn't expect anything from me. We just kind of coexisted and they're fascinating. So I've really kind of just dove in like crazy with birding and I'm literally obsessed. I have a big sleeve on my arm full of birds that I want to continue to do as well. But some people in my space, I'm the bird expert, which is crazy because one, I love that. I've been birding really hard for several years now, but I'm so far not even close to some of the people that I know and I engage with sometimes daily around birding. So in my full-time job, I meet with clients, and one of our clients works at a place of business, and I went in to do like an account review of things of that nature. And we're just talking. We instantly hit it off, just good vibes all around. And he has a picture of a pileated woodpecker on his wall, which that's one of my favorite birds. They're gorgeous. It's what Woody Woodpecker is based off of, but look them up if you don't know because they're amazing. And I said, I love your pileated. And his eyes lit up. And, oh my gosh, you know what that is? And we started talking about birds and how just how great they are, and which generally happens when you find out someone's a birder, like, fireworks go off, the stars align, all those things. And he invited me to a bird walk. I think it was in like a Saturday, next Saturday or 2 Saturdays from there. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go, and I don't generally like to meet new people on a personal level. I do it all day for work, but my circle is very small and very tight knit. So that's something I struggle with. And being such a novice at the time, I didn't know a whole lot. So I literally told myself I was not going to go for days and days ahead of time. And then I woke up that morning and I was just like, fuck it, just go. And since I went on that one bird walk, it has been so eye-opening for me. The people I've met in this community are some of the most incredible people. I'm really hoping to have quite a few of them on this podcast because they're fascinating. The things they have done and the places they have gone to bird or just to enjoy nature is something I strive for. I'm like, oh, I want to do that one day. And it's just such an inspiration to hear their stories. But they're such a welcoming community. They want to share their knowledge. Sometimes even at 40, I'm the youngest in the group there. So we're kind of challenged with finding the younger generation to join the birding community because it's all about education, preservation, and just understanding the birds and how important they are to our ecosystem. But they're utterly fascinating. And I say all this to say that sometimes you just got to find your passion. And for me, it's birding, along with a few other things that I really, really love, my sound, golf, and quite a few other things. But birding for me is number one. And it's such a great hobby to have. So, I'm that bird nerd. I get sent memes all the time. I love when people see a bird and think of me. And I get that quite a bit. My phone will go off and one of my friends is either tagging me or something or sending me something. And for me to be seen as kind of the bird person in my small circle is great, because I see that in so many others where I'm like, wow, these people are literal geniuses and have been birding their whole life. So I kind of envy that. But I just wanted to share those few couple things. I woke up with that, oh, I gotta do this, but I don't have to. But I've been wanting to get more information out there and just get this going. I really want to start bringing on some more people. My list is building. I've had quite a few people actually go to my website and say they want to be on my podcast, which I love. Please keep that coming. Again, it's super low key. I'm just chilling. I've got some time in between doctor appointments today. I try to schedule mine all in like one day and just bang it all out. So took the day off to get that taken care of. No pressure, but I'm enjoying doing this. We're actually getting ready to go on vacation next week. Looking forward to that, but it's been fun. We'll see you next time. And thanks for watching The Loud Reset.